Okay, 6.9. This is, like I said, the last unit or the last lesson in our quadratics unit. So there are three forms of the equation that we talked about. We started with vertex form, okay? When I look at this, how do I know whether this thing opens up or down? Yeah, it's the value of A. So A is greater than 0, this thing opens upward. A is less than 0, this thing opens down. What about if A is equal to 0? Yeah, it's no longer a parabola. If A is equal to 0, that goes away. You've got y equal k. You no longer have a quadratic. Okay. Same thing for all of these. So we use consistent notation. A is greater than 0, opens up. A is less than 0, opens down. And I'm not going to write it down again. So that's the same. So that part is the same. You can tell whether this thing opens up or down by looking at that leading coefficient. Positive numbers go up, negative numbers go down. Okay. How do I find the axis of symmetry? First of all, the axis of symmetry is geometrically, it is a what? It is a straight line. You give me the equation of a straight line, it has to have an equal sign. What is the axis of symmetry in this one? Not h. X equal h, okay? Please don't miss points. It is an axis of symmetry. It is an equation. It requires an equal sign. X equal h, okay? How did we find it over here in the intercept form? Yeah, x equal p plus q divided by 2. If you've got your two x-intercepts, the axis of symmetry is where geometrically? In the middle. In the middle, another word for in the middle is the average. How do you average two numbers? You add them up and divide by 2. That's all I did here, okay? In standard form, what is the axis of symmetry? Yeah, negative b over 2a. Okay, see you guys, you're not relearning it. It feels like you're telling me some of this stuff back. What is the vertex? In vertex form, what is the vertex? It is the point, h, k. How do I find the vertex in intercept form? So if I know the axis of symmetry, what do I know relative to the vertex? Yeah, the axis of symmetry is what is its relation to the axis of symmetry and the vertex? Yeah, the vertex is on the axis of symmetry. So if this is the x value, what do I already know about the vertex? Right, so all I need, this is the x value of the vertex. So the vertex is going to be, oh, sorry. I did not ask for the vertex. Sorry about that. I'll get to that in just a moment. So the x-intercept, what is the x-intercept? That's what you know from this. It's P0, Q0. And then in this form, I already know the y-intercept. What's the y-intercept? 0C, okay? So that's the information. This is the information I can get from the equation with doing very little work, just the knowledge of it. Okay, so now let's just talk about how do you find the vertex. So how do I find the vertex in this form? What is the x value of the vertex? Yeah, so it's p plus q over 2. That is the x value of the vertex. How do I find the y value of the vertex? Yeah. So the vertex is going to be p plus q over 2. And then you have to substitute p plus q over 2 into the equation. So that's how you find the vertex. P plus q over 2 is the x value. Substitute p plus q over 2 into the original equation to get the y value. Does that make sense? How do I do it over here? How do I find the vertex over here? Yeah, so negative b over 2a is the what? X coordinate of the vertex. So it's going to be negative b over 2a, and then what do? I have to substitute negative b over 2a into the equation. So this was all stuff we learned in Unit 5, okay? You need to be very solid on this, okay? If you come back and you've got B over 2A, it's going to be wrong. So you got to, I'm not a big fan of memorizing stuff. I'm more a fan of if you work problems long enough, it becomes natural. But you might need to memorize this stuff, like the different pieces that are here, because you don't want to get that wrong. Quadratic formula, yes, there are people who miss that. You need to memorize it. You really don't need to be missing what the formula is, okay? So what we need to do today, we just need to talk about algebraically how we manipulate from one form to the next, okay? So by the end of today's lesson, you should be able to take anything in vertex form, convert it to intercept form, or to standard form. Or excuse me, vertex form and intercept form converting to standard. So we'll do those. Those are the most straightforward. The one that is a little bit more work involved is going from standard form to vertex or intercept. Okay. So these are the ways we're going to do it. Vertex and intercept, convert that to standard. Standard, converting that to vertex or intercept. Okay. So how do you think we would take something in vertex form and convert it to standard form? What do you think we would do? To get to something that looks like this to something that looks like this. That was it. I mean, you distribute. I think the first year I taught this, I said it was the Nike method. You just do it. You look at what you have and you just do what it says. Okay. So if I want this to be in standard form, I want this to look like ax squared plus bx plus c. So I'm in vertex form and I want to go to standard form. What do you think that is implying that I need to do to make that happen? Yeah, just distribute all of that out and do the arithmetic. So I can write this as y equal negative 2 x plus 3 x plus 3 minus 5. So all I did was write x plus 3 squared as x plus 3 times x plus 3, which is leading to me to think, what's the next thing I'm going to do? Yeah, I'm going to FOIL this together. So this is y equal negative 2. The first terms combined to give me what? X squared. The outside terms give me 3x. The inside terms and the last terms. And I can combine that middle term, so this is y equal negative 2 x squared plus 6x plus 9 minus 5. Now what do I do? Pardon me? Yeah, multiply all of this by negative 2. So y is equal to negative 2 x squared minus 12x minus 18 minus 5. What's the last thing I'm going to do? Combine the negative 18 and the negative 5. So y is equal to negative 2 x squared minus 12x minus 23. Okay. What's the vertex of this parabola? Negative 3, negative 5. Does it open which way? Down. What's the axis of symmetry? X equal negative 3. What's the y-intercept? 0, negative 23. Okay. I can only get the y-intercept by plugging in 0. Where is it easy to plug in x equals 0? Up here or down here? It's much easier down here. So 0, negative 23 is the y-intercept. Okay. How would I find the x-intercept? How do you find the x-intercept? X-intercept is what you get when what? Y is 0. So what will I do with that? Set y equal to 0, and then I have to do what? Solve using what? Well, not history. We know that. So yeah. So if the next question were to find the x-intercept, you have to be able to solve what equation? You got to be able to solve that equation. How would I solve that equation? No. What methods do we have for solving that equation? Yeah, so factor is one way. What's the other way? Completing the square. Quadratic formula. Taking square root of both sides. Okay. So what's the easiest thing to do? There's something easier if I had started with the original problem. Square root of both sides is the easiest thing to do here because negative 2 x plus 3 squared minus 5 equals 0. That means negative 2 x plus 3 squared equal 5. X plus 3 squared equal negative 5 halves. Now I do what to both sides? Square root. So I get x plus 3 equal plus or minus square root of negative 5 halves. So are there x-intercepts? What kind of solution is this going to give me? Yeah, negative 3 plus or minus I square root of 5 halves. What kind of number is that? Complex. So there are no x-intercepts, okay? So this one has no x-intercepts, okay? So you may be asked questions like that. So if I'm converting from different forms, if I ask for the x-intercept, you could use the quadratic formula here. You get to the same answer. Numbers might be a little bit different to get there. Okay, so to convert from vertex to standard, all you really do is just distribute out. Same thing with intercept form, okay? How can I convert this to standard form? How can I get this to look like y equal ax squared plus bx plus c, okay? Yeah, I just do the same thing I did a moment ago. So this is y equal 3 x squared plus 6x minus 4x minus 24. So y is equal to 3 x squared plus 2x minus 24. And the final step, y is equal to 3x squared plus 6x minus, what is that, 72. Okay, what are the x-intercepts? 4, 0, and what? Okay, what's the y-intercept? 0, negative 72. Okay, notice I never just write 72. It's a point. 0, negative 72. Okay. What is the axis of symmetry? So it's x equal, it's 4 plus negative 6 over 2. So that's what? Negative 2 over 2, which is what? Negative 1. Where does this thing open? Why would you say that? Which way does it open? What told me that? Yeah, the positive in front of all of this. What's the vertex? How do I find the vertex? Plug in negative 1 into either of these equations, okay? So where is it easier? You can plug in negative 1 here or here, okay? If I plug in plug a negative 1 in here, this becomes 3, what is it, 3 minus 6, which is negative 3 minus 72, negative 75. So what you can do is double check yourself. Let's plug in a negative 1 up here. If I plug in a negative 1 here, that's 5, and this is what? then I made a mistake, right? 5, what did I do? Oh, it is right. Yeah, if I plug in a -1 here, this becomes -5, that becomes 5, that's 3. So that's 3 times -25, -75. So yeah, that is the vertex. Okay. Okay. So this is pretty, I mean, this guy's, you might could have figured this, no, I don't want to say might. You could have figured this out on your own, okay? Now, there's a little bit more work to convert from standard form to another form, okay? So how do we go from here's standard form to intercept form? What does it look like mathematically has to happen to get from that first one to the second one? What's the word for that? Factoring, okay? So it looks like to get from standard to intercept, it looks like I have put it in factored form. So what do you think we must do? We factor, okay? So if I want this to be an intercept form, it needs to be factored, okay? So if this can factor, I need to see if there are two magical mystery numbers that multiply to give me what? -10 and add to give me -3. So it looks like a -5 and a 2 on a Tuesday would make that happen, right? Multiply those to -10, add those to -3. So what do I do with these two numbers? Anybody? It's that, okay? All right. Now some people, like I said, if it starts with a 1 in front of the x squared, these two numbers represent your factorization. Now you could choose to write x squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 10, factor by grouping. Okay, you can do this and go through factor by grouping. It's just extra steps if you want to take them. Okay, if this number right in front of the x squared is a 1, you factor it. This is your factorization. Now, some people on the test decided that they would like to make this number in front like a negative x squared. You really don't ever want that. You know, you want the number in front of your x squared term to be positive. So in solving equations, if I had a choice of moving things from the left or the right, I really want a positive number in front of my x squared term. It makes things so much easier for the factorization. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I mean, now can you convert every standard form into intercept form? What must you be able to do to get it to intercept form? You must factor. What are there things that can't factor? Yeah, so you are not guaranteed that you'll be able to put every quadratic into intercept form. Okay, so what are the x-intercepts? Yeah, so the x-intercepts are -2, 0, and 5, 0. Okay. What's the y-intercept? What? 0, -10. Okay. What's the axis of symmetry? 3 halves. 5 plus -2 over 2. Okay. So x equal 3 halves would be where the axis of symmetry is for that guy. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Convert this one to intercept form. So in order to go to intercept form, it's telling me I need to be able to factor. Okay. So when I look at factoring this, what's one of the first thing, if factoring is made easier if you can do what first? Find a what? Common multiple, okay? Do these things have anything in common? Yeah, they have a 3 or a -3, either way. I'm going to choose to write it with a -3 because that leaves me what's inside is going to have a positive in front of my x squared. So when I factor that, I get what x squared, what plus 7x plus 12. And then how do I handle what's inside the parentheses? I need to find two numbers that do what? Yeah. Multiply to 12, add to 7. Those numbers are what? 3 and 4. See, that's pretty easy. This is just practically working itself. So y is equal to negative 3 times what? X plus 3, x plus 4. Parabola open up or down? Down. What are the x-intercepts? Negative 3, 0, negative 4, 0. What's the y-intercept? 0, negative 36. Okay? Okay, you guys see where all that comes from? How would I find the axis of symmetry? Yeah, I got two ways of doing it. It's either going to be, so it's either going to be add these together, so 4 plus 3 over 2, or I would have to go to standard form. You can't do negative b over 2a on this part. It would have to be negative b over 2a on this original. So it'd be 21 over negative 21 over 6, or positive 21 over negative 6. Okay? How do we convert this one to intercept form? Okay, to convert to intercept form means to get it in what form? Factored. So here I need to look for two numbers that do what? Yeah. What numbers multiply to 14 and add to 15? Yeah, 1 and 14. What do I do with those numbers? Yeah, this is not x plus 1, x plus 14. Why is that not correct? Pardon me? Yeah, because this is a 2x squared. So x plus 1 times x plus 14, that's going to be x squared plus 15x plus 14. That's not what I'm after here. So I have to rewrite this as 2x squared plus x plus 14x plus 7. And now I factor by what method? Grouping, okay? So that tells me y is equal to x, 2x plus 1, plus 7, 2x plus 1. So what is this? What, x plus 7, 2x plus 1. Okay, so let's answer a couple questions. This thing open up or down? It opens up. Okay, what are the x-intercepts? The x-intercepts in intercept form, this guy. Okay, so if I know that the x-intercepts negative 7, 0, what happens when you set 2x plus 1 equals 0? Yeah, so 2x plus 1 equals 0. That means x equal negative 1/2. Those are the x-intercepts. What's the y-intercept? 0, 7. Okay. How do I find the axis of symmetry? Right, so it's going to be what? That's negative 7.5 divided by 2, or I could just do this. Where could I get that from? Yeah, negative 15 over 2 times 2, right? So negative 15 fourths. So that is the axis of symmetry, okay? How would I find the vertex? Plug that number into either one of the equations, okay? All righty, how does that feel? Let's go. Okay, last topic today, and this is the last one of the unit. We need to be able to go from standard form to vertex form, okay? So I need to take something that looks like this and get it to look like this, okay? So it almost looks like factoring, right? I mean, but it's a very specific form. I need to get it as something squared, okay? What method did we have for getting things into squares? Completing the square. So that's one way to approach this. This one has two ways to approach it, okay? So they all have a couple of steps, and you get to pick whichever way you want to do it, okay? So first way I'm going to do it is what I'm illustrating here. Let's write down what we know, and let's just try to figure out what the axis of symmetry is. Like, for example, to get to vertex form, what do you need to know to be in vertex form? Vertex. So this boils down to, if I knew the vertex of this parabola, I could get to vertex form. So the first part says, well, do we know how to find the vertex of a parabola in standard form? Let's pretend like we've already been tested on it. Do we know? How do you find the vertex of a parabola in standard form? Find the axis of symmetry and then plug it in, okay? So I know that x is equal to, so if I look at this one, a is equal to what? Oh no, yeah, b is equal to -4. C is equal to 7. So the axis of symmetry is what? -b over 2a, which is what? 4 over 2 times 1, which is 2. So I know that the axis of symmetry is x equal 2. The axis of symmetry does double duty. Besides being the axis of symmetry, it's also the what of the vertex? X coordinate of the vertex. You know the x coordinate of the vertex. How do you find the y coordinate of the vertex? Okay, you plug that in. So let's substitute x equal 2, and I get y is equal to 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 7. So this is what? 4 minus 8 plus 7. What is that? -4 plus 7, which is 3. So I know that the vertex is what point? 2, 3. So vertex form, what's the equation for vertex form? Y equal what? X minus h squared plus k. Do we know all of those things? Yeah, what is h? What is h? 2. What is k? 3. What is a? What is a? 1. Okay. I know everything on the right now. Okay. So I know that at this point, I know that hk is 2, 3, and I know that a is equal to 1. So what's this final equation? Y is equal to what? X minus 2 squared plus 3. Okay. Now does that one feel harder, or is it a little bit more? I mean, it's you're bringing together a couple of things: standard form and how to find the vertex. If you can bring those things together, so really to get to vertex form means find the vertex. Okay. So let's do another example. If I look at this, I'm in standard form. What is A? 2. B is 8. C is equal to 7. Okay. How do I find the axis of symmetry? X equal -b over 2a. So that's what? -2. Okay. Then how do I find the vertex? Yeah, plug this back in. So I need to substitute x equal -2 into that original equation. So y is equal to 2 -2 squared. plus 8 times negative 2 plus 7. So this gives me y is equal to 2 times 4 minus 16 plus 7. So that's, what's 8 minus 16 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 7 is negative 1. So I know that the vertex is what? Negative 2, negative 1. So it helps if you write down, I need it to look like this. Do I know everything on the right side? Okay, what is A? A is 2. So this is y equal to x, what, plus 2 squared minus 1. Remember, it's x minus the vertex. So x minus negative 2. What's x minus negative 2? X plus 2 squared. So you should be able to look at this. This is a parabola centered at, excuse me, with a vertex of negative 2, negative 1. Parabola opens which way? Up. What's the y-intercept? Y-intercept 0, 7. Okay. X-intercept. Do I know it? Do I know the x-intercept? No, I would need to be in what form to be able to know the x-intercept without doing any work? Intercept. So how would I find the x-intercept? I could do that, or I could just what? Set it equal to 0, okay, to find the x-intercept, okay? Now there is an alternate method for going to vertex form, which is completing the square. I will do this. It is your choice. I'm not, you may need to be able to do complete the square. Like there may be a problem that says complete the square. But when it comes to this activity, going from standard to vertex, you get to choose how to do it. You can do it just like we did it, or you can do completing the square. I'm not going to force you to say, convert this from standard to vertex by a specific method. So you get to choose which method to use. Okay, if I want to do this by completing the square, I can just write this as, so f of x is equal to, I have to factor out what is in front of that x squared term. So this is going to be x squared plus 4x, and then I'm just going to leave this 1 off to itself. Okay, does everyone agree that's the same thing? Factor out a 2 from the first 2 terms. Right? Everyone agree that that's the same thing? No. I can do that. It's going to make it harder if you want to do it that way. Okay? This is the easier way. Okay? Just factor it from the first 2 terms. Okay? Because what I need to do, this is where I need to complete the square. So f of x is equal to 2. X squared plus 4x. That's where I'm going to complete the square. So what needs to be added to complete the square? Yeah, plus 2 squared. Okay. Now, what I have just done, I'm on the right side of the equation. I've just added what? I've added 2 squared times 2. Okay. So if I'm adding this over here, the easiest thing to do is just say, well, I have to subtract it off to keep this all legit. So this is f of x. I can add it to the right and add it to the left, but then I have to just subtract it back over. So if I'm adding this, to keep things from changing, I have to subtract it. Okay? So this is going to be minus 2 times 2 squared. Yeah, that's going to be a negative 7. So this becomes f of x equal to, what is inside the parentheses? That's what? Squared plus 1 minus 8. So my final answer is f of x equal to x plus 2 squared minus 7. Now, do you like that method or the other method for this one? Okay, so where's the vertex? Nope. Negative 2, negative 7. Okay, so open up or down? It opens up. Where's the axis of symmetry? Axis of symmetry. That doesn't feel like an axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry is a what? It is a line. We give lines not by numbers, but by what? Starts with an E, an equation. What's the equation of the axis of symmetry? X equal. Am I just off base thinking that you could look at this and say X equal -2 is the axis of symmetry? Right, it's in vertex form. -2 is the X value of the vertex. X equal -2 is the axis of symmetry, okay? Where's the y-intercept? 0, 1. 0, 1 is the y-intercept, okay? Guys, you know this stuff, okay? I'm just trying to trick you on it. So where's the vertex? What do we say? -2, -7. So let's do this next one, completing the square. So your main steps are, you start out with this. You have to factor whatever number is in front of the x squared term. Here it happens to be a -2. So what do I multiply -2 by to get -2x squared? X squared. What do I multiply -2 by so that I get positive 6x? Okay. -3x. Now I'm ready to complete the square. Okay. What needs to be added here? 3/2. What? Squared. Okay. So what have I really done? I've done what? What change have I made by doing this? What, guys, you got to figure this out. I just wrote plus 3/2 square. I changed the right side of the equation. What change did I make? It was, this is the change that I made. -2 times 3/2 squared. So if I'm subtracting 2 times 3/2 squared, what must I also do to keep this a legitimate equation? I must add it. So this is plus 2 times 3/2 squared. So this starts to simplify. This is -2. What do I have in parentheses? X. The whole reason I did completing the square was so that what's going to happen next? X minus what? No. Why did I don't do this just for, for giggles here, The reason I did completing the square is because the next thing, this becomes a what? A perfect square. What is the perfect square? Maybe I'm just not hearing it. X minus what? Okay. Guys, it's that. Did you say that or no? Okay. You need to speak up. Because I'm hearing the wrong answers. Guys, you don't just start pulling numbers out of hats once you do this, okay? The whole reason you did this was to create a perfect square. X minus 3/2, all of that squared. Now I've got the perfect square. So this is -3 plus 2 times 9/4. Okay. So I can work on that. What is -3? That's going to be plus 18 over 4. Right? So that's -3 plus 9 over 2. So if I multiply this by, is there a question? What's the, I'm just adding fractions, right? Okay. So this is, guys, this is going to be what? -6 over 2 plus 9 over 2. What's that? It's 3/2. Okay. So this final answer is f of x equal -2. X minus 3/2 squared plus 3/2. What's the vertex of this parabola? Vertex, it's a point. What's the vertex? 3 halves, 3 halves. Okay. What's the axis of symmetry? X equal 3 halves. What's the y-intercept? 0, negative. Come on, guys. 0, negative 3. Okay. The y-intercept always best comes from which form? Standard form. The vertex always is easiest to get from vertex form. Okay. So you got to be able to answer these kind of questions about all of these specific forms. Okay.